Good evening and welcome to Eyes on the County, Stafford FM's weekly digest for arts and culture, food and drink, democracy and disability. Tonight.
But it's another thing, when youth clubs and get shut down, it cuts kids' roots off and links. They don't really have anywhere to go.
Like when I'm with all my friends and we all got hoodies and that type of youth, nobody wants to be around us, and the youth club was just a place that we could all go and have fun. Like at least we got somewhere to go. Now look, we walk down the streets and we're getting pulled over by police. Like there's nothing here for us. Like the youth club's activities, there's so much stuff to do. We can make music, we could do videos.
As Staffordshire County Council proposed scrapping its universal youth service, tonight's Eyes on the County goes in search of its future, with studio audience Trudy McGuinness, Director of South Staffs College and Labour's prospective parliamentary candidate for Staffordshire Moorlands, youth worker John Butcher, Councillor Kyle Robinson of Butt Lane, Newcastle under Lyme, and of course the man behind these latest proposals, Councillor Mark Sutton, Staffordshire County Council's support cabinet member for safer communities. The service, which is currently up for review, is out for consultation, and anybody interested in helping to shape the future of young people have until the 26th of February in order to add their voice. What has been proposed is that all after-school activities be withdrawn except for the most vulnerable, and that 38 of the youth centres across the county could close. Naturally, the proposals have prompted a public outcry from both youth workers and professionals respectively. No less than my first guest, Becky Salt, 18, Chair of the Youth Action Council Staffordshire, an advisory body to Staffordshire County Council. She believes not only are these proposals undermining, but an insult to young people's intelligence.
I was very disappointed with the proposal, especially how I've had so much input into the youth service over the years. I think all young people are aware of the current climate of our country at the moment and understand that cuts are being made, but not this drastic. I think to cut everything out will be a total disaster, and it's quite concerning how, especially when I've gained so much from the youth service, it's going ahead.
What has the youth service come to mean to you over the years? Because you said you've had quite a lot of input in it. So what's the youth service come to mean to you as a young person?
My particular involvement is through raising the voice of young people, getting our voice heard. About 7 years ago, I started at my local youth forum, doing a local level basis, worked my way up to the Youth Action Council, going into an exec role and then further up into becoming chair. I think that's really important for myself. I've really enjoyed it. I've learned a great deal. Confidence has gone through the roof over the years. I think that's really important as I've developed myself. So, I've also got into the Duke of Edinburgh Award, and that again, I've learned so much through that. And then there's the NCS, which is like a week of voluntary basis, learning skills in our community. And then there's certain activities, programs that I've done throughout holidays in the youth clubs that have gave me the social skills and finding new friends.
So what you were basically saying is that the youth service has taught you so much, it's given you a confidence boost, you've learnt a lot of skills, it's developed you as a young person. And what we're now about to see, if the council have their way, is that all these services are about to be withdrawn. That's going to be quite an awful shock to a lot of young people out there, really.
Yes, certainly. I think people appreciate what they've got, but when the alarm goes of it's all going to be shut off, I think it really raises the concerns, and people start to appreciate what we do have, and if that goes, what are the effects going to be?
And I suppose it's the type of person who's going to be the worst affected here as well. I mean, I may be wrong, but am I right in thinking that the youth service currently serves those from more dysfunctional families, younger people from more dysfunctional families? Would you be inclined to go along with that?
Yes, I think they may be seen as a minority, but I certainly think it's the most important. We need to be aware of these people. We need to go and outreach them because they can't access everything. And to be able to go to somewhere where they feel confident, feel part of a family when they go to these places, express their thoughts and feelings and be supported, then I think that's really important, and it certainly shouldn't be something that's cut.
And as a young person, somebody who has benefited from the youth service provided by Staffordshire County Council, what sort of a message do you think this latest review is sending out to young people, namely that they want to withdraw all these services. I mean, what do you think it's really saying to people like yourself?
That we as young people aren't valued in terms of what the county council think, feel and propose. I think not being appreciated of what we are doing, all the good things, and what our development as young people are. And as the cheesy quote goes, you know, we are the people of tomorrow. But it's true, what's going to happen in years to come when we haven't had this support and all the young generations to follow, what's going to happen?
Oh, absolutely. And just listening to you earlier talking about the skills you've acquired through the youth service, the confidence it's given you, the type of character it's made you into today. I mean, look, you are the chair of the Youth Action Council at just 18, so you wouldn't have been in this position without the youth service. And do you therefore feel or envisage going forward a lot of young people from perhaps, say, more socioeconomic backgrounds end up not fulfilling their potential because the service simply won't be there?
Certainly, I think we all start and we all develop as people from when we are younger, and if that's not, the foundations aren't developed as a young person, then what's going to happen? You can't build a house on rough foundations, as we say. So I think we need to get it right at the start, and then we do create a good future for young people, and those that aren't fortunate enough to have a good start, by giving them a boost, by giving them support, they can make them tracks and make that path and journey through to education, higher education, and hopefully to employment, and to help them to reach their goals, because we all have aspirations, goals and dreams. So let everyone achieve them, not just those that are able to access and get to that support.
Oh, absolutely. And just to pick up on a concern of yours earlier, you said there may be serious ramifications should the service be withdrawn. People from socio-economic backgrounds who can have only up to now been able to afford these council-funded services are unable to access everything else in their community. How do you think they're going to react should the service be withdrawn? What do you think they're going to be doing with themselves of an evening?
Well, as a young person, I don't want to promote any negative image, but there is the possibility that violence and social behaviour can happen because if they haven't got anywhere to go to, they can't afford to go to different places, gyms, clubs, etc., then they're going to be out on the streets and causing disruption in the community. That the possibility is there, and I think that should be a concern in itself to say, look, we need to keep these youth services going, because it's not just affecting young people as the council might see as a small minority. It is in fact affecting everyone, all generations across the community.
It must be quite awful for you, somebody who's in a position of respectability, a young person who's doing something good, you're empowering other young people. Do you find you get a lot of good respect from the community for the work you're doing? Do you think people do value what you're doing?
Certainly in the last few years, we have got this positive image coming by promoting what we have done. So I think we are respected currently, but as soon as that support drops and we aren't able to do any more positive things, or we can't go out there and change things for the better of young people and our community, then I think the negative image of young people is slowly going to overtake what we have done. And I think the positive things that in the past that has happened and currently is happening is going to be forgotten. I think that's a great shame because we've come such a long way, and for it all to go so suddenly will be a great shame.
Has it certainly caused you to question, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Certainly, I think in discussion with young people, a lot of people have come up with, why do we bother? And the main answer to that is because we are bothered about young people, and not necessarily what other people perceive as to us, but it's making a change for young people like ourselves that can't have a voice, and that's what's important to us. And certainly in this process of the proposal, that's what our aims are to do, is to create the voice for the young people.
So what's your message to Staffs County Council then?
To appreciate what the youth services is at the moment for young people, what it's achieved, be positive about the situation, and really take into consideration what has happened for young people, how positively it has affected them, and not to just say, we'll cut it and hope someone else can sort something out. We've got the Facebook of Save Your Service Staffordshire. So we're encouraging anyone to like it, get their story across and how it's helped, how the youth service has helped them, and hoping that as a group we can make a change representing the young people.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll be advertising those contact details on our own website as well for any other young person who's interested in saving the youth service of Staffordshire. And let's hope the outcome of this latest consultation is a positive one for young people, because I'm sure you've had it said to you on more than one occasion, you're doing a sterling job, so do keep it up. But in the meantime, Becky Salt, Chairperson of the Youth Action Council, many thanks.
Thank you very much.
We're still to come just how important are youth services in our community. We assess the evidence with youth leader John Butcher, who's also a member of the Community and Youth Workers Union. That's coming up after the break.
Eyes on the county. Eyes on the county. Stafford FM.
Welcome back to Eyes on the County. I'm Philip Anderson, where tonight we are debating the future of the youth service here in Staffordshire. Currently it's out for consultation. You have until the 26th of February to have your say on shaping the future for young people in the county. And the County Council at the moment are proposing to withdraw all after-school activities for young people except for the most vulnerable. Well, before we analyse exactly what has been proposed and how it's going to impact on young people in the area, let's find out exactly how crucial of a role youth centres play in our community. Earlier I managed to catch up with John Butcher, who is both a youth community worker at the Nutton Youth Centre in Newcastle-under-Lyme and a member of the Community and Youth Workers Union. He explained to me exactly what his youth centre provides their 200 members.
We cater currently for young people aged between 13 to 19 of any background, any ethnicity, any gender, any disability. So basically every single young person has the opportunity to attend our youth centre in Nutton. We do all sorts of different activities with them. It's not the traditional youth workers that used to be, where it was ping pong and pool. We actually do educational stuff with them now with regard to cooking, health and safety, round cooking in the kitchen, food hygiene and that sort of thing. Sessions on raising awareness around drugs and alcohol and the issues and problems and effects of drugs and alcohol. We all obviously raise awareness of sexual health issues, contraception, etc., that sort of thing, try to reduce the teenage pregnancy rate. We also do lots of outdoor activities. We do lots of Duke of Edinburgh's award work. We do residentials from the centre. We do lots of organised activities where young people get out to experience things that they may not have been able to experience in other fields.
How do you decide what's important in terms of your offer?
Our offer is based on what the young people want us to deliver. We consult with the young people on a termly basis to provide a programme of activities that meets their needs and meets the needs of the local area.
How receptive are they?
They are very willing, because it's a voluntary relationship that we have with young people. Young people come to us voluntarily. We don't force them through the door. They want to come. They come along with the friends. If there's anything that's going on that they're interested in, they participate in it. We set programmes up within youth clubs, and obviously the young people attend, and if it's an interesting programme, they will attend and participate within that programme. We do obviously have young people that come in with issues. There are lots of safeguarding that we have to abide by, and if anybody comes and presents themselves with something that's a serious safeguarding issue, then obviously we have to forward that on to the relevant agencies to deal with specifically. So we do have very strong links with ADSIS, the drugs advice guidance people. Families First, we do work with Families First on a more targeted basis. So if somebody presents with something that's really serious and could affect their health or the safety, then obviously we have to respond to that, and we bring other agencies in to deal with that situation at that time.
So you also act as a signposting agency as well to some degree, which is very crucial. But also I picked up on a very important point you mentioned earlier about relationships and forming good relationships with the children or the youths whom attend and benefit from your service, because it isn't just a case of getting them in through the door, because getting them there's one thing, keeping them there's another. So presumably part of what you have to do is to build good ties with these young people.
Yes, that's right. We do have to build these good ties, and all the full-time staff are professionals. We've all been to university to get a qualification, and that qualification then obviously is passed down through us to our part-time staff, of which we have quite a substantial number of part-time staff. But we also have quite a substantial number of volunteers as well, so they're all supported by a professional youth worker.
How would you describe the atmosphere on a given evening at your youth club?
The atmosphere is usually very friendly. Young people are very forward in coming and talking to us about issues that they have. It's a very easy, safe, lively atmosphere where young people can actually relax and express their feelings and any problems that they have with somebody that they trust. We don't force them to say anything to us, but we build on that relationship through trusting sessions and team building activities and group working sessions, so that everybody knows that if they have to say anything to any of the youth workers, they are trained and qualified to actually be able to deal with their problems at that time.
What do you think keeps people coming on a regular basis?
The people keep coming on a regular basis because of the variety of activities that we have on offer, and it always changes. There's always something different going on. There's always new people coming in and doing different sorts of activities with them. We're always there trying to make sure that we motivate them to develop themselves socially and personally, so that they can get on and become positive young people. I believe it's quite a crucial role. It's seeing young people develop their own voice and their own personality and their own way of thinking. And we have had young people come through the club who've had no confidence, who wouldn't speak to people, who've then gone on to become a member of a youth forum or go on to the YAC. And then from there we've seen young people develop into young politicians who've actually taken up roles in political office from that. I've personally worked with some young people who've had few issues in the background in the past, and I've actually seen them grown up into young adults who've got their own businesses now and who've actually moved away from the area that they would never have moved away from otherwise. And there's one particular young person that I worked with who's actually working and living in Australia at the moment, and he's developed his skills through what he's been working with on when he's been attending the youth centres.
John Butcher, youth worker for Nutton Newcastle under Lyme Youth Centre in Staffordshire. Well, here to help me unravel and perhaps evaluate Staff County Council's latest proposals for the future of the youth service is Trudy McGuinness. Trudy is Director of South Staffs College and is also Labour's parliamentary prospective candidate for Staffordshire Moorlands. Trudy, you've had a little while now to digest what the County Council are proposing. Do you agree or disagree with what's been suggested here? Namely that they withdraw all after-school activities for young people across Staffordshire other than for the vulnerable, as has been proposed.
As Labour's prospective parliamentary candidate for Staffordshire Moorlands, I'm absolutely outraged by the proposals being put forward by Staffordshire County Councils to reduce the youth service to basically a service which is so small and so tiny it won't be able to support the 13 to 19-year-olds who absolutely need it. Essentially what the County Council are saying is that the very small amount per head of teenage population that they currently assign to youth services work is way too much, and they're looking to cut their budget by almost 50% and reduce the service down so that it's available only to those whom it says are most vulnerable. What they fail to do is to explain what exactly do they mean by vulnerable young people? Who are these vulnerable young people? How are they identifying them? How will the services be targeted successfully at those young people?
But the council are arguing that not enough people are accessing the service. I think they've put the figure at between 1 and 5 or 4 and 5, depending which set of statistics one reads.
I've seen a number of statistics around this, and the lowest figure I've seen of the two which have been bandied about is that they've got 14,663 users. Now, currently their budget for Staffordshire amounts to £19.08 per head per teenage population. Now, what they're saying, therefore, is they believe that £19 essentially per head per teenager in Staffordshire is too much to invest in the future of our young people. That is a ridiculous assumption to make.
Indeed, and as we were hearing from Becky Salt, Chair of the Youth Action Council at the outset of the programme, the youth centres play a vital role, and the youth service generally, in terms of a person's education, employment and so on. And you do work in education. You are the director of South Staffs College. So obviously the future of the youth service here in Staffordshire is of paramount importance to you.
Yes, it is. I've got a lot of experience of working with young people. I've been working within a further education environment now for over 6 years, and I see firsthand the vital importance that the youth service workers have with young people in terms of helping them to make positive choices and to lead healthier lives. With youth centres and around youth workers, have a safe place to be where they can feel nurtured and supported with dedicated, professional, passionate professionals there to help and support them if needed.
Indeed, and what you are probably also seeing at your college is people coming through the education system who perhaps wouldn't be there if it weren't for the likes of youth centres up and down the county.
Undoubtedly. And they absolutely do provide a vital signpost, really, to careers and to education, and to help to support those young people to have the confidence to progress into further education, and then indeed into higher education and into employment.
Other than a voice of the opposition and someone who works in education who has a vested interest in young people and their futures, are there any other reasons for why you have got involved with this consultation to try and sort of get the council to rethink their proposals?
Obviously, I have a very, very keen interest in our community, and that's not just in the Moorlands community, for which I'm the prospective parliamentary candidate for Labour, but right across the county, because I see and support young people from right across Staffordshire in the work that I do day to day. And it strikes me as a very cynical exercise by the county council that the consultation was launched immediately in the new year, very, very quietly indeed. Hasn't I, within my professional capacity, have not received any information about it whatsoever to share with young people. And you would imagine that in my role as a director with responsibility for the welfare and engagement and citizenship of young people, I might have been contacted to ensure that I make them aware. And of course I am making them aware, but that's through the work that I'm doing and proactively doing, and not through any wider consultation exercise being promoted by the county council.
Indeed. So what is your main ambition, and how are you going to achieve this?
I want to make sure that every young person across Staffordshire knows that this is happening and what the consequences will be, and that their parents and carers and the wider community understands the potential impact of taking away this vital underpinning support service for young people, leaving them without the support and the framework for positive activities.
And just in a sentence or so, are you confident that all of this will have the right outcome for you?
I'm absolutely determined to make sure that I support young people and everybody else who cares about young people to stand up against these outrageous proposals to whittle down our youth services to nothing. Am I confident? I'm confident that people can make a difference, actually, but I'm in no illusions whatsoever that this consultation exercise, I'm sure the county, from the way it's been framed, would love it to be nothing more than a rubber stamping exercise. I'm under no illusions of what we're up against, but I'm absolutely determined and very, very positive about making sure that we do everything we can in the next few weeks to stand up against these proposals and be counted and to seek to overturn them.
Trudy McGuinness, many thanks indeed.
Thank you.
Trudy McGuinness, Director of South Staffordshire College and also Labour's prospective parliamentary candidate for Staffordshire Moorlands. Well, we're now joined on the line by one of Staffordshire's young councillors, namely Councillor Kyle Robinson, 25, for Bott Lane, Newcastle under Lyme. Kyle, I understand you are also associated or affiliated with one of the local schools up there, and you've also done a lot of youth work yourself. Tell me, what was your initial reaction to the news of Staffordshire County Council's initial intentions to revamp the youth service for Staffordshire?
One of my biggest concerns is the fact that youth services provide education, and a lot of young people don't tend to get as much support at home as others. And young people go to the youth centres and go to the youth clubs, not just to have fun, but they learn a lot about sexual health, drugs, drug abuse and alcohol abuse. And I fear that without the youth centres, without the youth clubs, they're losing that education and that support from local youth workers. And I think there's a real concern as well that the move to close the youth clubs and the youth centres could lead to a rise in antisocial behaviour. We've just had cuts to the local policing teams in this area over a period of time. We've lost PCSOs who in the past have been very good at working with young people, but we've lost that support locally. So to then remove the youth centres as well, how much is the cost to policing going to increase? And I suspect it will be quite a lot. You know, we've got the situation where the county council is saying the youth services can be provided by the private sector and by other facilities in the area. But to be honest, for our area in Kidsgrove, I don't know what it's like for most of Staffordshire, but I'm sure it's quite similar. A lot of these things come at a cost. You know, young people necessarily haven't got a lot of money to spend. These services have always been provided by the local authority. So as far as I'm concerned, it should continue to be. I always had a youth club to go to on a Tuesday. Not enough, actually. You know, a lot of young people now say they wish they could go a couple of days a week in the winter because they don't want to hang around on the streets. My mum and dad used to have a youth centre. My grandparents had some sort of youth club provided when they were younger. So this would be a big step, and I just think it's set up to fail.
Councillor Carl Robinson, many thanks. And in a moment, we're going to be putting all your concerns raised so far to the man himself, namely Staffordshire County Council's Support Cabinet Member for Safer Communities, Mark Sutton. That's next. Stafford FM, Eyes on the County. Philip Anderson with you right through until 8 this evening, where today we're exploring the future of the youth service, which is currently under review here in Staffordshire. The County Council are proposing that they withdraw all after-school activities for young people, with the exception of the most vulnerable. We've yet to establish who the vulnerable are. There's been public outcry, as one would expect, with youths arguing these latest proposals are an insult to their future prospects, which were eruditely documented by Becky Salt, my initial guest, who is the chair of the Youth Action Council. The crucial role the youth centres play in our community, not just from an education perspective, but also from a safeguarding capacity too. We heard that courtesy of John Butcher, who was a youth worker over in Newcastle under Lyme. Not forgetting, of course, the potential rise in antisocial behaviour, which may occur should these centres close in response to the council's latest round of budget cuts, leaving youngsters with little to do, which could end up, as Councillor Carl Robinson was saying earlier on the programme, placing more pressure on our ever more under-resourced police. He also said that a number of PCSOs had disappeared from his area, which could also leave them as a community more vulnerable. Well, I suppose we've reached that all-important, crucial moment in the programme when we hopefully should discover whether the inferences we've drawn from these latest set of proposals by Staffordshire County Council on the future of the youth service are correct or not. As we welcome to the programme a man who has been involved in the decision-making process, especially this consultation, which continues until the 26th of February, by the way, so you've still got opportunity to have your say in shaping the future for young people, is Councillor Mark Sutton. He is Staffordshire County Council's Tory Cabinet Member, Support Cabinet Member for Safer Communities. Councillor Mark Sutton, delivering excellence for young people is what you claim you are all about. And that may appear a little contradictory. On the one hand, you are saying that you are delivering services for young people, but on the other hand, according to these proposals, you're about to withdraw them. But before we look at those in a little more detail, perhaps you'd like to start off, in the interest of fairness, just to give you an opportunity to just explain to us what you have delivered in terms of excellence for young people.
One of those is the Your Staffordshire travel card, where young people can have a pound a ride. Two other points there are similar, and that is the work that we've done over the last few years on the national scheme, the National Citizenship Scheme, which runs twice a year for young people. Myself, I've played a part in that. And that gives young people the opportunity to work with people from across different backgrounds, building skills, leadership skills, confidence, team building. The second scheme, similar to that, is what lots of people will have probably heard of, and that's the Duke of Edinburgh Award, that we believe in passionately here in Staffordshire. And that builds very similar types of skills to the National Citizenship Scheme, and we're very much here in Staffordshire believe that those schemes should continue.
So a lot worth celebrating really here, by all accounts, and some very invaluable projects that you've helped to establish. Am I right, therefore, in thinking that in line with the latest cuts that have been proposed by Staffordshire County Council, all of this hard work you've achieved is about to be undone?
No, I take complete issue with that. That's not what this is about. This is about delivering what young people want. And if we talk about those three things that I've just mentioned, if anything, I want to see those enhanced.
What you have said, though, is what you are proposing in your review, which is a document which you say about delivering excellence for young people. It does say at the beginning that the County Council proposed to withdraw all after-school activities and only concentrate on the vulnerable. Well, I want to look at the issue of the vulnerable a bit later on, but just going back to that initial point, it does say you want to withdraw. That's what you're proposing, so it doesn't look as if you want to build on what you've already established.
No, I think if we drill down a little bit more into the papers, it doesn't talk about not doing these things. It talks about doing things in a different way. This is not about reducing positive activities for young people.
So maybe the wording's wrong then, because it does say at the very beginning of this consultation, the County Council proposed to withdraw all after-school activities.
We can argue about some of the little bits of terminology. We have a legal requirement to ensure that there is youth provision for up to 19-year-olds and up to 25 if people have got learning disabilities, and we will ensure that that's done. But we will be doing that in a different way.
So what you're basically saying is, at the moment, then, all this review is around it's a money-saving exercise, and it could end up being that some people end up suffering while you would just end up saving.
No. First of all, what I will point out is that the targeted service, and I know you want to come on to vulnerable people later, but I think this is a way that you've sort of introduced it. The targeted services that we provide to vulnerable young people across the board, this isn't under review. That is still going to continue, and having to take into account the money that we have or don't have to spend. Okay,
well, just let's going on then, because there is a lot of concern in the press at the moment, when this story broke earlier on, that there are going to be a number of youth centres that may end up closing as a consequence, should your proposals go ahead. How many can we expect?
How many can we expect to what?
To close.
Right. As I've explained, this is not about providing less. But what we will do is we will look at every single youth facility that is provided. We will do that on a district basis when we've had the consultation in, and we will use that, and we will do an analysis of every area, and we will look proactively to encouraging more activity.
Okay, but
not
where's this
less.
figure come from?
So to answer your question specifically, okay, until the consultation's through, until we put the final proposal through and that goes through Cabinet, and we have done a proper analysis of each and every area, then I cannot answer your question.
Okay, well, everyone seems to have got the bit between the teeth and are thinking 38 may go. Are you going to just sort of confirm that that figure is not something you, as a council, have put out?
Well, I think the 38 number is about the amount of youth facilities across the county. And that's the only real comment I can make on that, other than just to say it's the same answer to I gave it to the previous one.
Okay, and there's other bits of concerns here that you're saying within these documents that 1 in 5 only use these services, or then I read somewhere else where it says 4 out of 5 don't use these services, these council-funded youth services, and which is why they're now under review. Can you confirm whether that's correct or not?
Well, I can certainly confirm that across the county, approximately 22% of young people use the current youth and community services provided youth facilities, which does amount to approximately, as you say, 1 in 5.
And that isn't and that isn't enough, in your opinion?
Well, it just shows. It's not necessarily enough. It's not too little or too more. What it does show is that the money that we're spending currently is only being used by 1 in 5 young people.
Well, why is it then?
And then the other young people, the 4 out of 5, either use other facilities, other youth clubs provided by volunteers, church groups, charities, school after school clubs, martial arts, sports clubs, gymnastics clubs.
Okay, I get your point, but you would consider you would consider closing these in light of this if you felt there wasn't enough demand for the service. You would look at closing them.
What we will do, as I've said, we will do an analysis of every youth facility across the county.
But it would seem you've already done that.
No. We will look at the need that there is there individually, what the community could provide, what volunteers might provide, and it's about enhancing things and looking for things. Clearly, if there is a youth facility that only one child goes to once a week, you would have to look at the viability of that. But I'm not saying that is the case.
And have you not also stopped to wonder what possibly this all would mean, the impact it will have on these individuals who have benefited from it, the 22% that you quote? Have you ever stopped to wonder what the impact will be on them should these services be withdrawn from their community?
Absolutely, and that's why, as part of this process, and I don't know whether you've seen in the papers, what we intend to do is to allocate a sum of money that's probably going to be around 50,000 to each of the individual, to allocate within each of the individual districts.
Which, as we were hearing from my earlier contributor, Trudy McGuinness, amounts to about £19 per young person. That isn't a large sum of money, is it?
Well, what I would say at this moment is that what is provided by the voluntary organisation that supports 35,000 young people to go to activities costs us about £7.50 or thereabouts. And I take issue with the fact that if a young person hasn't got a particular youth club to go, if that is the scenario, that they are going to end up being disruptive. They're going to be a bad egg. That's not the case. We are going to look within the community for organisations that will work with us, voluntary organisations, third sector organisations.
To do what?
Through schools. And this is about, and we're talking here about the out-of-school provision that is universal, available to every young person, to continue a youth facility within that area if there is a need and a demand. And that's what we will continue to do. That's what we will continue to do, but in a different way.
I still don't understand what you mean by this different way. What's this different way?
Okay. In the future, what we would like, if this proposal goes through, and once we have considered the consultation, is move that to volunteers, to the third sector, to other organisations, to be able to do those type of things within the community. And as I said previously, there will be £50,000 available within each of the districts to help facilitate that.
All right, well, just a couple of points in conclusion. At the outset of this, I quoted from your original document about delivering excellence for young people, and as much that what you're proposing, and as part of this consultation, is that you withdraw all after-school services for young people in Staffordshire, except for the most vulnerable. Can you define for us at this stage what you mean by vulnerable?
Now, first point I will make is, when we did our engagement process, which was October and November of last year, the one thing that the young people and other people told us in particular is that we should make sure that we concentrate our efforts on the vulnerable. But to answer your question, vulnerable young people would be young people subject maybe of substance misuse, emotional health concerns, teenage parenthood, low attainment, the NEETs, not in education training.
All the people who use the youth clubs at the moment.
And again, you're interrupting, Phil, and not giving me the opportunity just to finish. Those involved in crime, may be they're a victim or offender, and that's not the only ones on that list. There will be other people, other young people within that.
All right, well, just in conclusion, and this is an important point, it has been reported on in the press today. According to the Evening Sentinel, Cabinet now proposes to rubber stamp the cuts to the youth service on the 5th of February now, and not in March, and that they hope to have them all approved by full council the following week. Yet, the public consultation, as you and I well know, doesn't finish until the 26th of February. So I suppose the question on everybody's lips is, how can you expect to approve cuts before the public consultation has run its course? I mean, surely that would make a mockery of democracy, wouldn't it?
As you all know, we legally have to provide a balanced budget, and that has to be done by a certain date. And that will include proposals, not just in this area, but other things that we have. And that's what we have to do.
Just to answer the point, are you expecting to rubber stamp this on the 5th of February when there is still about 3 weeks to go on the consultation?
Well, we're not rubber stamping how the proposal would be introduced, are we? We are, as you say, rubber stamping. There will be a discussion on the medium-term financial budget, the budget for the next 12 months. I think they are linked, but they are different things.
OK. Well, then we must leave it. Councillor Mark Sutton, many thanks indeed. Councillor Mark Sutton.